The rain had been falling for hours, cold, relentless, and loud against the hospital windows. Inside St. Mary's General, the fluorescent lights hummed softly while exhausted nurses moved like shadows through the halls. Among them was Emma Carter, a 28-year-old nurse who hadn't slept properly in 3 days. Her shift should have ended hours ago, but short staffing meant overtime again. She rubbed her temples, fighting a dull headache. Her stomach growled. The only thing she'd eaten that day was a vending machine sandwich. Still, she kept going. Because that's what nurses do. Emma had learned to live with exhaustion. Ever since her mother's passing 2 years ago, she'd been juggling bills, rent, and her younger brother's college tuition. Life had turned into a cycle of double shifts and quiet tears behind closed doors. But tonight felt heavier, something in the air, a strange tension she couldn't explain. Then the intercom crackled. Incoming trauma case. Male, mid-30s, car accident. Massive blood loss. ETA 5 minutes. Her fatigue vanished. Emma sprinted toward the emergency room, tying her hair back with shaking hands. When the ambulance doors burst open, chaos followed. Paramedics shouted vitals over the sirens. BP dropping fast. Pulse weak. He's losing too much blood. The man on the stretcher was barely conscious, face pale, chest rising shallowly. His clothes were shredded with glass and rainwater, his arm badly gashed. Emma caught a glimpse of his hand, a gold ring engraved with a name, Liam. Let's move. Prep for transfusion, the attending doctor barked. Emma connected IV lines, cleaned wounds, and called for blood. But when the lab nurse checked the chart, her expression turned grim. Type AB negative. We're out. The next delivery's an hour away. The room froze. An hour was too long. Emma's pulse raced. She didn't even think. She just said, use mine. I'm O negative. Her colleague looked at her in disbelief. Emma, you've been on your feet for 12 hours. You can't. I can, she cut in. Cross-match it. I'll sign the consent. Within minutes, she was sitting in a chair beside the operating table, the needle sliding into her arm. Her blood, warm, red, alive, began to fill a small bag before being rushed straight to the patient. As she watched it drip through the line into him, she whispered under her breath. Hold on. Please just hold on. The doctors worked relentlessly. Monitors beeped in sync with her own racing heart. Every drop she gave felt like part of her life being poured into his. The smell of antiseptic filled the room. Sweat ran down her temple. Vitals stabilizing, one nurse said at last. Emma let out a shaky breath. Her body was weak, her vision blurry, but relief warmed her chest. She looked at the man again, his face peaceful now, almost serene beneath the oxygen mask. A faint scar traced the edge of his jaw, and his expression, even in unconsciousness, seemed kind. Who was he? She didn't know his name, only the one on the ring. Liam. Maybe his son. Maybe his brother. Whoever he was, someone loved him enough to engrave it on gold. When the surgery ended hours later, the doctors nodded approvingly. He's stable. We almost lost him, but the transfusion saved his life. Emma barely heard them. Her knees trembled. One of the nurses caught her arm. Emma, go lie down before you become the next patient. She forced a weak smile. I'll be fine. But as soon as she reached the staff lounge, she collapsed onto a couch and fell asleep instantly, still in her scrubs, with the faint scent of antiseptic clinging to her skin. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the blinds. The storm had passed, leaving the city washed clean. Emma sipped bitter coffee, trying to shake the lingering dizziness from blood loss. She checked on her patient, room 307. The man was still unconscious but breathing steadily. Machines beeped softly beside him. His hand rested over his chest, and the ring glimmered in the light. A little card sat on the bedside table. Visitor, notified, family en route. She wondered who would come. Later that day, while walking past the reception, Emma noticed a small boy standing near the vending machine. He couldn't have been older than 6, messy brown hair, red sneakers, and a teddy bear clutched tight in his arms. He looked lost. Emma knelt beside him. Hey there, sweetie. Are you looking for someone? The boy's eyes were full of tears. "My daddy. They said he's here. His car, it broke. I want to see him." Emma's breath caught. "What's your daddy's name?" "Ethan Walker." The name hit her like a jolt. Room 307, the man she'd saved. She guided the boy gently toward the nurse's station. "He's resting now, but he's safe." "You can't go in yet, okay?" "He needs to get stronger." The boy nodded solemnly, still hugging his bear. "Daddy said he'd come back soon." "He never breaks promises." Emma swallowed hard. "And he will," she said softly. "He's very strong." The boy smiled, a small, brave smile that somehow made her heart ache. After he left with a relative, Emma went back to check on the patient one more time. She looked at him lying there, unaware of the life that had flowed into his veins. Her blood, his breath, two strangers forever connected by a single act of kindness. Standing at his bedside, she whispered, "You have someone waiting for you. So, wake up soon." She didn't know that this simple act, a nurse's quiet sacrifice in the middle of a storm, would change her life forever. She didn't know that when he woke, he would search for her. She didn't know that this man, this stranger she'd saved, wasn't just anyone. He was Ethan Walker, the CEO of Walker Industries, a man whose name appeared on magazines, business headlines, and charity boards, a man who would soon walk back into her world, not as a patient, but as something far more unexpected. But that was all still to come. For now, in that quiet hospital room, a heartbeat echoed steadily, one that existed because of her. And for the first time in months, Emma smiled. Not because her problems were gone, but because she remembered why she chose this life. Sometimes saving someone else is the only way to remember that you're still alive too. A week had passed since that stormy night, the night Emma Carter gave her blood to save a stranger's life. The hospital had settled back into its routine rhythm of quiet urgency. Patients came and went, lives were saved and lost, and Emma had gone back to her usual long shifts and endless paperwork. But every time she walked past room 307, she slowed down, even though the bed was now empty. The man, Ethan Walker, had been discharged 3 days ago. His chart was cleared, his bed sheets replaced, and yet something about that room stayed with her. She told herself it was nothing, just another patient, just another night, but deep down, she knew that wasn't true. She had seen the look on the little boy's face, Liam, when he talked about his father. She'd seen the quiet strength in Ethan's features, even when he was unconscious. Something about that family touched a part of her heart she'd buried long ago. The return. It was a cold Friday evening when Emma's shift finally ended. She clocked out, tucked her ID badge into her bag, and rubbed her tired eyes. She was about to head home when the hospital's sliding doors opened, and in walked a tall man in a dark grey suit. His presence immediately drew attention. Confidence in his stride, calm in his gaze, the kind of man who seemed to belong to a different world entirely. "Excuse me," he said to the receptionist, his voice deep and smooth. "I'm looking for Nurse Emma Carter." Emma froze. That voice. She turned, and there he was, the man she'd saved. For a moment, time seemed to slow. He looked completely different now. No oxygen mask, no bandages, no weakness. Just strength. His face was strikingly handsome, with faint traces of the scar now healing on his temple. But his eyes, warm, steady, grateful, were exactly the same. "Nurse Carter," he said, walking toward her. "I was hoping to find you." Emma blinked, caught off guard. "Mr. Walker, you shouldn't be walking around yet," he smiled gently. "Trust me, I'm fine, thanks to you." Before she could respond, a small figure peeked from behind him. "Daddy! That's her!" It was Liam, his son, running straight toward her with a teddy bear in hand. He hugged her legs tightly. "You're the nurse who made my daddy better." Emma felt her heart melt. She knelt down, smiling softly. "And you must be the brave boy who was waiting for him." Liam nodded proudly. "He's all better now. We even built a fort at home." Ethan chuckled. "That we did. Though I think he used every blanket in the house." They laughed, and for a brief moment, it didn't feel like a hospital anymore, just warmth. Connection. Then Ethan grew serious. I wanted to thank you properly, Emma. What you did that night. You didn't just save my life. You saved a father for his son. I'll never forget that. Emma blushed slightly, looking down. You don't have to thank me. I was just doing my job. He shook his head. No, you went far beyond that. You gave part of yourself, literally, for someone you didn't even know. That's not just a job. That's compassion. A life-changing offer. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then pulled an envelope from his jacket. I know this might sound unusual, but I'd like to offer you something. She frowned. What kind of something? He smiled. A position. My company, Walker Industries, funds a medical charity that supports hospitals like this one. We're opening a new foundation center downtown. I need someone who understands real patient care, someone who's lived it, not just read about it. Someone like you. Emma's eyes widened. Me? I'm not qualified for that. I'm just a nurse. You're exactly what the foundation needs, he said firmly. You have the heart for it. And I've already spoken to your supervisor. She agrees. Emma was speechless. For years she'd struggled just to survive. Rent overdue, bills piling up, dreams shelved away because reality always came first. The idea that someone like him, a CEO, a man from another world, would see her, really see her, felt impossible. I don't know what to say, she whispered. Say yes, Liam piped up with a grin. Then you can visit us, Ethan chuckled. You heard the boss. Emma laughed softly but shook her head. I appreciate it, truly, but I can't just accept charity. Ethan's expression softened. This isn't charity, Emma, it's recognition. You gave without asking for anything in return. Let me give something back. Something that might finally make your life easier. She hesitated, torn between pride and gratitude. I'll think about it, she finally said. He smiled. That's all I ask. A second chance. Days turned into weeks. Emma couldn't stop thinking about that offer, or about Ethan and his little boy. Sometimes Liam would send a small drawing through the hospital mailroom, stick figures of Daddy, Nurse Emma, and me holding hands. Each one made her smile in a way she hadn't in a long time. One evening, after another exhausting shift, she found herself standing outside the new foundation building. Sleek glass walls, silver letters spelling the Walker Medical Foundation. Inside, she saw Ethan speaking to a group of doctors. When his eyes found hers, he smiled, the kind of smile that made everything else fade. You came, he said softly. I guess I did, she replied. He handed her a visitor badge. Welcome aboard. The promise. Working at the foundation changed everything for Emma. She no longer worried about rent or bills. But more than that, she felt seen, valued for her heart, not just her hands. Ethan would often stop by her office, sometimes to discuss projects, sometimes just to bring coffee and ask about her day. And slowly, quietly, something beautiful began to grow between them, built not on money or titles, but gratitude, respect, and something deeper they both feared to name. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through the office window, Liam ran in holding a new drawing, this time, 3 figures and a heart above them. Ethan laughed. What's this, buddy? Liam grinned. That's us. Daddy, Nurse Emma, and me. We're a family now, right? Emma's eyes widened, her heart racing. Ethan looked at her, then at his son, and smiled, a warm, knowing smile. Maybe someday, Liam, he said softly. Maybe someday. Emma couldn't stop the tears that filled her eyes, not of sadness, but of something she hadn't felt in years, hope. The man she'd saved had returned, not just to repay her, but to remind her that love could still find its way into the lives of those who never stopped giving. That night, as Emma walked home beneath a silver sky, she thought about how one simple act, one decision to give, had changed everything. She had given blood to a stranger, but in return, she had received something far more powerful, a new beginning, a new family, and a love that asked for nothing but honesty. Sometimes, fate doesn't shout. It whispers. And on a rainy night in a quiet hospital, it whispered to a nurse named Emma Carter.